Welcome back to the Knock-On Effect, the rugby show where we say what the pundits won't. Ireland just took on South Africa in an absolute rollercoaster of a match. In today's video, we're going to take a look back at all the talking points and rate each and every Irish player. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. Right, so I had planned on doing a ratings video after this game, and I'm going to stick to the plan, but it has to be said, the chaotic nature of the game has made things very interesting. I'll be going through the incidents as they come up, so bear with me. Getting us underway is Andrew Porter. For all the good qualities that we know that he has, if he gets on the wrong side of a ref, we're fucked, and tonight was not his night. By the time he got his yellow, he was already on his third scrum penalty, not to mention a further 2 more conceded in open play. There can be no complaints about his yellow card. With 5 carries and 11 tackles, his work rate can't be questioned, but his ill discipline certainly can. 3 out of 10. Dan Sheehan up next. 6 carries, 3 tackles and just over 55 minutes played. An early crooked line out, but took his try well. I hold him to a high standard because he's proven that he's capable of so much more, but I think Malcolm Marx showed the difference in class between the pair of them tonight. Far from his best, but not his worst, 6 out of 10. Rounding out the front row is Tadhg Furlong. I thought he looked strong and lively early on in his defence and maul defence work. He did a better job than others at scrum time. He had 4 carries and 5 tackles, an average shift, 5 out of 10. Which brings us to the first major incident, James Ryan. He looked busy and physical early on. He reacted to a spilled box line out and drove his man out over touch. His 20-minute red card, however, gave him a swift and early bath. My take? I thought it was a red. He charged in off his feet and at pace. He made no attempt to wrap, and there was head contact. I'd argue there was more of a mitigation factor here in terms of messy ruck forming and him losing his feet than there was for the high shot on Tommy O'Brien, but we'll cover that when we speak about O'Brien. The red card was a major turning point, and as unfortunate as it is, James Ryan is the culprit, 2 out of 10. His second row partner next, Tadhg Beirne. I thought he kept a level head in the face of chaos. It's games like these where you can tell your leaders, and by God did Beirne lead. 9 carries, 2 tackles, he jumped well in the line out, had a handful of steals, which would have been much more appreciated had South Africa not had so many advantages, and he had a try call back for Ryan's red. Beirne did his absolute utmost in the face of adversity, 7 out of 10. Moving on to the back row, first up Ryan Baird, another big shift for the big man. 4 carries, 5 tackles and a little over 60 minutes played. He fought for every scrap and was a great operator in the line out. He had a brilliant choke tackle winning possession just before his substitution. This autumn he's firmly put a grasp on the starting 6 jersey, 7 out of 10. On to Josh van der Flier. A stop-start game for him as he was forced off with Porter's yellow, then came back on, then came back off, then came back on. It was tough for him to gain momentum. No surprise yet again to see him second in tackles though, 12 completed and a further 10 carries. A decent shift doing the dirty work, and there was plenty of it for him to do tonight, 6 out of 10. Rounding out the back row and completing the pack is Caelon Doris. 9 carries and the most tackles of any Irishman at 14. Some great carries, his most notable was under pressure from the base of the scrum. He helped Baird in that brilliant choke tackle around the 55-minute mark. I don't know whether to be critical of him when he fought Ireland's case with the ref. I don't know whether anything could have changed the ref's mind, but again, I can't help but feel he was slightly passive. All that being said, he did his utmost to leave his rugby do the talking, 7 out of 10. On to the backs, first up is Jamison Gibson-Park. A relatively quiet game from him. It's incredibly difficult for a scrum half to dictate the play when that madness is going on around him. His pass selection for Sheehan's try though was elite. His box kicks and clearance kicks were excellent as usual. He received a stern handoff from Sasha Feinberg and Gamazulu for his try, but that's quite harsh as he was doing his best to cover in defence. All in all, slightly above average, 5.5 out of 10. On to Sam. Sam. His tackling has fucking improved. You have to give credit where it's due, and he had the third most tackles from an Irish perspective with 11. His kick selection in the early stages was very mixed. He had a good territory finder early on, followed by a long up and under, a kick out on the full, a penalty off the post, and then his yellow card. I'm just going to say it, the yellow wasn't his fault. Porter gave away one in the scrum, Baird gave away a second for not rolling away, and Prendergast third for offside I thought was harsh. It was way more about the accumulation than his specific actions. While this was a poor performance, I think you can take away a certain satisfaction that Sam is now willing to put his body on the line. This is the requirement that we need in that department. If he drops under that requirement again, I'll be sure and let you know. Bundee Aki. 7 carries, 6 tackles. In a word, underwhelming. This was a game where we needed our big game players to step up. Yes, that is harsh considering the sheer amount of chaos, but I expected more from Bundee. He had a handful of strong carries, but he wasn't able to find any success with them. It was a 4 out of 10. His centre partner, Gary Ringrose, next. 10 carries, 8 tackles, and a stint on the wing. Ringrose fought for every single bit of possession, throwing himself on loose balls on more than one occasion. Like Aki, he didn't find much success, but by work rate alone, he deserves a higher grade. 5 out of 10. On to the back 3. James Lowe up first. 7 carries and 2 line breaks, which were rare in this game. He got pinged for tackling a man in the air, reacted first to Prendergast's penalty off the post, and gave good chase for the high balls, albeit not very successful in retaining possession from them. Above average, 6 out of 10. Which brings us to another major incident with Tommy O'Brien. It's been painful going through all these ratings, I won't lie, just knowing that it could have been so different. The butterfly effect springs to mind. O'Brien received a shoulder to the head no more than 6 minutes into the game from Sasha Feinberg and Gamazulu. You could tell by the players' reaction what they made of it. The sentence used correctly as well in adjudicating James Ryan was it was never a legal action. Sasha likewise never made an attempt to rap. Personally, I would have said it was a yellow to have been reviewed. But the consistency from the refereeing is shocking. Referee Mack Hansen, in my opinion, had way too much of an influence on this game. The best refs, you'd hardly know they were there. South Africa have had 2 reds 2 weeks running. It would have taken a brave man to make that call. Mack Hansen was not a brave man. As for O'Brien's overall performance, he had about 31 minutes on the pitch. He left with a HIA. A HIA he got for his own poor tackling on Caelon Moody. He was lucky to have not gone in the bin himself. The only thing that saved him was that he got bounced off the floor. Other than that, he had a handful of decent kick chases and a kick out of his own out in the full. A very memorable, yet very forgettable performance, if you know what I mean. 2 out of 10. Rounding out the starting team is Mack Hansen. 2nd week in a row at fullback. 6 carries with 1 line break. He did his utmost to shepherd the Irish defensive line when there was one. At one moment on the 55-minute mark, he shot up in defence to make a brilliant tackle stopping a Springbok overload. It was an above-average performance, but far from the heights that we saw last week. 6 out of 10. On to the subs, and we'll fly through these. Kelleher came on at 55 minutes, 7 carries and 4 tackles. He brought some much-needed energy, but wasn't able to affect too much. 6 out of 10. Paddy McCarthy was my man of the match. He came on for Porter's yellow and immediately brought energy and physicality in carries. He came on again at the 60-minute mark and he could do little about his own yellow card. The box scrum was utterly dominant in so many areas. He popped up with a brilliant steal from our own 5-metre line and another poach in the last minute when all others had given up, which really is testament to his character. With a total of 9 carries, he was the shining light in this game, and he has emphatically justified his selection in the series, so fair play to him. 7.5 out of 10. Cian Prendergast came on for James Ryan's 20-minute yellow. If you ignore his 2 fluffed restarts, he had a great game. 7 tackles, 4 carries, brilliant in the line-out with a steal and a further poach at ruck time. More good than bad here, 6 out of 10. Jack Conan came on the 60-minute mark, 3 carries, 1 tackle. Not what you would have hoped for in terms of energy off the bench. 4 out of 10. Casey came on for the final 8 or so minutes. He looked lively, not much else can be said. 5 out of 10. Jack Crowley came on for Tommy O'Brien's HIA, moving Mack Hansen onto the wing and Jack at fullback. Much like Cian Prendergast, if you ignore one thing, he had a great game. But we can't ignore it. That was such a fucking stupid yellow card to concede. We needed above all else stability and discipline in that moment, and he threw petrol on the fire. That was a major moment, and the one the ref actually called right. Ignoring that, he held up a try, cleaned up the backfield excellently, on one occasion beating 2 on-rushing Springboks on his old goal line, and denied Caden Moody adding another try to the scoreboard. Was it more right than wrong? In sheer numbers, yes, but in the weight of his actions, for me, no. 4 out of 10. Finally, Tom Farrell. He came on the 64th minute mark for Mack Hansen. He had one dodgy floaty pass out wide, he had a decent run and an offload from deep, and chased everything he was asked. Not a whole lot else he could have done really. 5 out of 10. That wraps up our player ratings. Let us know what you made of the game. We'll be back on Monday night to put a bow on the Quilter Nations Series, so be sure and hit subscribe so you don't miss a beat. As always, cheers for watching. Catch you at the next one.